PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the foster.
We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter. I want.
Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on.
He likes it.
It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorce dad, single dad, divorce dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
That's right, Showtime Wednesday. It's Wednesday, folks. How the hell is everybody? Exciting stuff tonight, at least for me. I'm sure you'll dig it too, but I hope everybody had a great week. A lot of people celebrated Easter this past weekend. I hope it was good for everybody. It's amazing. Like I said, I started all this stuff on years ago on Facebook, so you follow everything. You follow the holidays. You follow the good times. You follow the bad times. And it's just amazing to me. I mean, everybody's hearts come out. Easter's, Christmas, just, you really start seeing it gives you that faith again that why I started all this to do it, because it's all people just saying things and truly meaning it when they, wishing everybody a happy Easter. Now, for those of you who know, and for those of you who don't know, I'm Greek. I'm Greek Orthodox. So Easter falls on a funky spot for the Greek or the Orthodox because there's a discrepancy in the calendars. They had an argument over, when Lent actually starts, and the Greeks go by the old calendar and the Catholics broke it and changed it. Then they have their new calendar and they go by moons, like how many moons it took to get how many bites does it take to get to the inside of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop? You know what I mean? And so growing up as a kid, Easter was kind of funky because it'd be American Easter. And there was times when Easter would be 3 weeks away after American Easter. And I just felt funny as a kid because you're out of place because it really wasn't. But in some weeks it falls. Some years it falls directly on the same date. And I don't know how that stuff works, but I'm just telling you how it is. So it's like, long story short, next Sunday is Orthodox Easter. So moral to this story is happy Easter. It's just the way it is. Anyway, tonight, I'm doing something I've never done before, and I'm glad I'm doing it. But tonight we're doing health and beauty. Beyond health and beauty. I'm going to have Miss Brittany Perez on from Gulf Coast Plastic Surgery. Beyond the Botox, modern day aesthetics, all these techniques. Look, I got questions. Okay, I got a lot of questions. But hey, Pete. Hey, Paul. Couldn't start the night out without a hey, Pete from my Gulf Coast friends. My main man over there. He's the caretaker. He's the gatekeeper, the greenskeeper for me, and a close friend. Hey. All right. Anyway, where are we? I'm sorry. I'm losing track. So, okay. It's going to be one of those nights. So I got questions because she does this stuff, and look, it's popular. Whether you think so or not, for men and women. There's all kinds of treatments and things. Who doesn't want to look good? Now, what I told her before is there's not a whole lot to work with here. So, you can't put lipstick on a pig sometimes. You know what I mean? But then again, she might be able to fix this. But I don't know. Well, we're going to find out because, again, there's a lot of men that do enhancement as well as women. It's not just a ladies thing. And we're going to talk about the old school techniques versus all the things that are going on now. Procedures, life has changed. And we're going to show you some examples too. She sent me some videos. That's coming up in a few minutes. And I'm excited as hell because, again, never done it before. So I think we're going where no man has gone before, or at least this man. man. Hey, man. My friends in the South. I want to tell you something too. I'm kind of next week. I'm going to give you a heads up for next week. So mark it on your calendar. I'm going to have comedian Rodney Norman on the show. That guy. Let me give you a quick, do I have him? Oh yeah. Let me just give you a quick little, Rodney Norman right here. Rodney Norman, comedian Rodney Norman. I found him on TikTok years ago, and I kind of thought he was kind of cool because I thought it was just some crazy guy talking about stuff. But he's a comedian. Well, he probably is a crazy guy talking about stuff, but he's a comedian. And he's got a real philosophical view on life. And he talks about stuff on his TikToks and things like that. And I finally, after all these years, just decided to get a hold of him. And I did. And he's coming on the show. Next week, April 19th, right here on this show, Mr. Rodney Norman, comedian Rodney Norman. Just right there. The look should tell you everything. It's going to be interesting. So mark it on your calendar. I'm going to have him. And again, maybe he'll be my first comedian I've ever had on the show. Just never bothered. We've always gotten tied up with a bunch of stuff. That's next week, April 19th. Don't miss it. Always a reminder, housekeeping reminder. Please, please, please go to my YouTube channel, The Peter G Show, and just go there and hit the subscribe button, please. Okay. I'm trying to, let's see what we got going on here. Looks like Rob Fetters. Go hit the subscribe button. Sorry, I'm reading comments at the same time. But it's free. Go to the YouTube. They throttled me down. They've punished me. I'm trying to build it back up again. If you're already on the other places, the LinkedIns and the Facebooks, I appreciate it. I do. I love you for it. I love you for taking the time to watch. But just do me the favor, because I got to get a certain amount of numbers there before they start, like leaving me alone and letting me build back up again. It's a hard climb. It really is. They throttle me down. So just go to the Peter G Show on YouTube, ring that bell or whatever it is, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It's free. It just takes a second for me. All right? I appreciate it. And don't forget, for those of you who watch the Peter G Show or don't have time to watch the Peter G Show but want to, you can do the next best thing. Google Peter G Show podcast. There's 25 different platforms, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the above. You could take the show on the road with you, put an earbud in your ear, listen to it while you're at work doing aesthetic stuff. You know what I mean? Because let's face it, sometimes you just want to break away. You could be listening. Brittany can be listening to her own show after this show is over while she's doing the stuff that she's talking about doing. How friggin' awesome is that? I like it. Anyway, just do it. All right? So here's the thing. Coming up in about 2 minutes, I'm going to bring her on, and we're going to get down to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. But first, I need a word from my good friends over at Clean Star Products with their DX1 fuel additive, because it saves you money. I'll be right back.
Let us help you with the high price of fuel. Hello, I'm Ty Thompson at CleanStarProducts.com. We can optimize your engine, saving you money and gas. Here's how. Our program works the same with gasoline and diesel engines. Whether you're using a car pack or SUV pack, the instructions are the same. Add 1 bottle to your engine oil, and each time you change your oil, add 1 bottle to the fuel tank each and every fuel fill-up. It's that easy. You get 10% fuel economy on average, lower emissions, and increased horsepower. DX1 sells for $2 an ounce, so for just a few dollars a fuel tank, you can optimize your engine, saving you money and gas. Come on, give it a try. It's the finest green grade oil in the world from a California environmental company. You're gonna feel it when you drive. Order online today, we'll get it out right away. CleanStarProducts.com/shop.
That's right. Clean Star Products. They got something that actually works, folks. Let's face it. Gas is expensive. Cars are expensive. Why not take care of your car, let it run better, and definitely save money on fuel and get more fuel economy out of your car? Clean Star Products, their DX1 driver right here, this little bitty bottle. You put it in a clean oil change, lasts the whole oil change, and then you just put one of these little bottles in an average sized car in every fill up, and you'll save up to 10% in fuel. I mean, it just makes sense, all right? and it works. And if it passes California emissions and all that kind of stuff, you know it's got to be good because they are a pain in the asses over here in California. If you want to talk to these guys, you want more information, just go to cleanstarproducts.com. They'll talk to you. I swear, tell them the Peter G Show sent you. It works, and it just makes sense to save money. So let's do that. Okay, as promised. I know she's anxiously waiting in the wings. I just get sidetracked sometimes. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's take a real quick. Smooth. As promised, right here on this show from Gulf Coast Plastic Surgery, she's going to be on here to talk about all this stuff I've been promising you about, and I'm excited. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Miss Brittany Perez. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Peter. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry to keep you waiting. I just kind of got there's things I got to do.
Up.
Oh yeah, there's things I got to do, and sometimes I get a little distracted because I'm like, oh look, a squirrel. You know, it is what it is. So okay, Brittany, I've been after you for since probably before the first of the year, and we kind of finally got this going because you are a busy girl.
Very busy.
Yeah, so why don't you, just for starters, just take a minute and tell everybody about yourself, what you do, how you started, and what you're doing, and then we'll go from there. Give me a chance to start. Yep. There you go.
Yeah. So I am a board certified nurse practitioner. I've worked in plastic surgery and cosmetic medicine for about 9 years now. And a year ago, I actually co-founded a training academy. So now I train other nurse practitioners, physician associates, doctors, etc., to do what I do. So yeah, that's it.
Wow. Okay. You how many years you been doing this?
9.
9. Yeah, because so I've been watching a lot of your stuff. Okay, and I mean, look, when we talk about this, these things, most people were talking about lips and Botox and things like that, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, that's your first thought when
that's what people know the most.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, and I have a few videos, and we're going to talk about things like that. But the thing I want to just show when I think about, and again, this is my warped mind of thinking. Every time I'm thinking about women and getting their lips enhanced and all that, I'm pretty much seeing this. Okay. so I mean, but that's not always the case, correct? That's not what you're going.
Although I will say I dissolve more lips than I fill these days, because there is still a trend of people overfilling lips that we're trying to get out of. We're on the right track, but we definitely dissolve a lot of lip fillers still.
So you're telling me, I thought this stuff doesn't last. I thought it fades away.
That is a myth.
Really?
Actually. Yeah. So the manufacturers have to put in a date on something. So they'll tell you it lasts for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. But the reality is it actually never completely goes away. There are researchers doing studies showing product 10, 15 years later. It just disperses and pulls more water to the tissue. So what we're finding is that even patients that had filler 10 years ago actually sometimes need dissolving, especially in the lips and the under eyes.
Wow. Okay. See, I did not know that. Again, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, so I'm gonna have a lot of questions, and I'm sorry if they're kind of. I don't think they're stupid. I don't think any kind of question is stupid. But this is because we want to get the word out. But so you're telling me if I came in with this, could you get me back to normal?
Eventually, it would take a lot of dissolver, a few sessions.
So there's something to actually, reverse that.
Yep, for most products. So hyaluronic acid fillers are the ones that we use most commonly, and it's just a sugar molecule. And hyaluronic acid is actually naturally produced in your body. So there's an enzyme called Hylenex that we use to reverse the product. So we keep it on hand all the time in case there's any event where we need to dissolve it while we're injecting. But also we will dissolve old lips as well.
Wow. you're freezing a bit, and the audio is getting a little squirrely. I don't see what I mean. We did yesterday. We were talking, and everything was beautiful, and it's. But let's cross our fingers on something. You're on Wi-Fi or hardwired?
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah.
I'm hardwired with my headphones.
Well, no. I know, but I mean the internet signal. So you're freezing.
My laptop. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, cross your fingers. Maybe somebody's. Cross our fingers because I want to get you, but it's the internet signal. So it's freezing a bit. Okay, so you're telling me. So I mean, but tell me the most common procedure that people go in for nowadays. Because to me, in my mind, it's all about. It always used to be. It was lips. I mean, it just seems like that's all anybody talks about.
I find for myself, I don't get as many lip filler patients now that I used to. It's really more like what you advertise on your social media. So when I first started injecting, I posted all before and afters of lips. So those are the patients that came into me. Now I get more regenerative type medicine patients that are looking for facial balancing, skin tightening, things like that. But I think overall in the aesthetic industry, one of the biggest draws is going to be upper face lines and wrinkles and lip filler. So Botox and lips, I think, is still most common in our industry.
Okay. So let's say I got these lines, and you can take them and get rid of them. Is it all by use of Botox? I mean, you're telling me that you were telling me earlier or yesterday that there's lots of different types of treatments now. It's not the old Botox days.
Yeah, and people still get Botox and filler confused, and they're very different. So Botox is the brand of a neuromodulator, and there's actually 5 neuromodulator brands, but Allergan did a great job at marketing, so Botox is the name that everyone knows. But there's Botox, Dysport, Xeomin, Jeuveau, and Daxi. They all relax lines and wrinkles. So we use those primarily in the upper face, like if you have frown muscles or forehead lines, whereas filler actually adds volume. So the volumizing products are used in the cheek area, like nasolabial folds, lips. So 2 different products for 2 different purposes.
Okay. I mean, because, well, you said, so Botox was the name of the brand, just like Band-Aid. I mean, Band-Aids are adhesive strips. They're not called, but everybody, Q-tips, the same thing, cotton swabs. Okay. Well, that was great on their part. I mean, they got lucky. They were probably the first in, and
they were.
Everything was Botox. Okay. So, so you're telling me there's a difference between fillers and
neuromodulators is what they're called.
Okay. But I mean, what's the life expectancy? You told me that this stuff lasts for, way longer than what you think.
Yeah, so the average filler, I mean, it depends on the person and how we metabolize things. So I definitely do have patients who run through product and it lasts 4 to 6 months and their lip filler is gone. But the more common scenario is patients get treated and their product is still there a year or 2 years later. So what we have to do as providers is educate our patients and tell them, like, you've had enough, you still have the product in there, and kind of talk them off the ledge, because they forget what they look like initially. And if we just do what they ask and we keep adding and adding and adding, then we get to that picture that you showed us initially where we're just overly filled and just, it looks outrageous.
So are you trying to say that it can be addictive?
Yes. And I've actually had patients get angry at me because I refuse to put product in their lips, and they told me that they won't be back. And I'm like, I'm sorry. It's not within my aesthetic preference to overfill patients. And if they want that look, they probably can find a provider that'll do that for them. It's just not me.
I get that. But again, because it can be, I mean, my biggest fear, look, example, I was walking in the mall about a month ago with my daughter, and she's got a pretty, God bless it, bless her, she's coming of age, and I like to say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She's got kind of a warped sense of humor. And we're walking by these 2 older women that are walking by, and I mean older, and they were just joker faced. And you know what I mean? I mean, this is nothing new, and my daughter just gives me that look, like she, because I know what she's thinking, because we're both seeing it. And that's what you don't want to have. But how do you stop that? Because you're right. You get used to it and you just more and more and more.
I think the problem with a lot of patients, especially in my older population, is that they don't want to have any lines or wrinkles. They think that the sign of youth is having no movement. They want to be frozen or having no lines at all on their face. And the reality is, my 8-year-old son has lines on his face, right? He can animate and he can make lines. So we forget that that's normal. Like, we get so used to what we see celebrities looking like or whatever it may be. And so it's me re-educating them and saying, it's okay to have movement. It's okay to have lines. When you're overfilled, yeah, you don't have a line in sight, but you don't look normal when you animate. So if a patient's looking at themselves in the mirror and they have no lines at rest, that doesn't mean they look good with movement when they're talking, right? It looks very unnatural.
Does it affect the way you talk and move and everything? I mean,
it can if you're overfilled. So if you're looking at someone and you're trying to like figure out what's not quite right, like their lips aren't quite moving right, a lot of times it's from being overfilled. They just can't move their face the same because filler puts weight on the muscles of your face. And if you can't move your muscles and smile and animate, it can cause problems.
do you have people that come in and talk funny?
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
do they know it?
They don't, you can, I would say 50-50. Some patients agree with me and they know they've been overfilled and they want to correct it. And then the other part of the population, they like the way that it looks. And so you can't talk them out of it.
I mean, because here's my point. I mean, when is too much enough?
Yeah.
I mean, what
And
the hell
so,
happened?
and so again, to me, it looks like she had actual probably cosmetic surgery, like some type of fat transfer. It could be filler too, but we can also be overdone with fat. Fat grafting is a very popular procedure. And when it's done well, it's beautiful and regenerative because we get those stem cells from the fat that regenerate our skin cell, our tissue. But in her case, it looks like she maybe had a little bit too much volume.
Again, now I'm sure, because let's face it, there's how many clinics that do this? There's got to be thousands now because this is very popular. This is big stuff, right?
It is. I mean, just within our local area, like within a 5-mile radius, there's over 40-50 injectors, like just in walking distance of my clinic.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And they stay busy.
Yeah, we all stay very busy.
So you call it injectors, huh?
Yeah.
That's kind of how's them injectors working? Yeah, I gotta clean them out. Let's go to let's start back and backtrack a little bit. Let's go and I'm gonna play this real quick little. Let's start with the lips. We started with the lips earlier because we're breaking our way out. But I'm just gonna show this little video that you sent to me, and we'll just talk about that because again, this stuff just kind of freaks me out still because I'm not one for needles that much. But yet these people, everybody looks like, hey, no big deal. So we'll check it out and we'll talk about it. I mean, you're working on the lips there. You're taking a needle, and what do? You just keep stabbing all the way around. How do you get it to where it's, you're not making a hair lip or something?
So the reason that my lip filler patients all look comfortable is because they get a dental block. So just like if you were getting a cavity filled or having some dental work done and you can't fill it at all, that's the same thing that I do for my patients. It's just an extra step that I take to make them comfortable because it can be very scary to have needles stuck in your lip, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I always start slow with patients, maybe a half syringe in their lips, and we can always add more later. But the filler, like I was saying earlier, is hydrophilic. So it's not going to look the same way 2 weeks later. So we have to account for that water pool to the tissue. So you have to underfill slightly, knowing that it's going to be more hydrated in 2 weeks.
So all that takes experience, knowing, and learning. I'm sure you probably had your share of like, oops, a little too much, or.
Oh yeah, I've definitely made my fair share of mistakes, and we all do, and we learn from them, and it makes us better.
Yeah, and so now you're perfecting your techniques, and that's why people go to you because you can anticipate what's going to happen. Because to me, it's like you're putting that and we'll see other videos to where you're kind of sticking that needle all over the place, and it's like, how does it not clump up, and get its shape? I just don't understand that.
You have to have a really good push finger. So, you have to have really gentle plunger pressure, and it has to be smooth. And that's something that's a learned skill that you're not good at in the beginning. In the beginning, you do push out lumps and bumps, and then you get smooth over time.
After it's settled in, can it get lumpy and bumpy if they push on it and things like that?
It can. So our patients that tend to have problems, which is very common these days, is people that smoke and vape. So our vapors, we tell them you can't do that for 2 weeks. So no smoking, vaping, straws, kissing for at least a week or two.
See, there's my gun, because I don't vape and I don't smoke, but I will kiss, and I don't want to and then all of a sudden I stop with it, and then and they go, why'd you stop?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's okay. Nothing.
And we know when our patients lie, they tell that little white lie and they're like, I swear I didn't, but we know.
Wow. Yeah. And vaping, huh? What is it from just putting your lips around that tube or whatever?
Just pursing. Yep. So because in the beginning, as the filler is settling, it's still moldable. So if you're putting an object in the same place repetitively, it's going to push the filler to the side.
Does that stuff harden after a while, like old boob jobs and things like that, like the old days? Or
it can become encapsulated. That's really rare. Generally, it just feels like tissue. And if it's put in the right plane of tissue and it's not put too close to the surface, it just feels like your lip tissue.
Okay. I mean, because again, I'm just looking at these procedures and like I said, I'm not a needle guy, but I'd be a bad drug addict, And I mean, I can deal with it, but I don't go out of my way to look for it. Let's look at this other quick little video you got. This one's called a lip flip, and I kind of got an idea what it's about, but I'll let you explain it after we see it.
They don't get as cold either.
Okay. Care to explain what difference between a lip filler and a lip flip?
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, the difference between filler and Botox, which is what we're using here with the lip flip, we're using Botox, is it paralyzes the muscle, which seems counterproductive to do that in the lip, but we're using a very small dose and we're putting it very superficially. And what that does is it rotates or everts the pink lip out. So it's generally the stepping stone to getting lip filler. Someone that's not quite ready for lip filler, but they want their lips to appear a little bit fuller, they go for a lip flip first because it's less than $100. There's no downtime. It's very easy, low risk.
Okay, and you're telling me that even the Botox lasts a lot longer than you think?
No, unfortunately, Botox is pretty much at that 3-month mark and it's gone.
Okay, so that kind of comes and goes, and you just keep on coming in. I mean, this is the problem I have. Who doesn't want to look good? I mean, everybody wants to look good, but let's say the money train rolls out, because I'm sure you're saying that's $100 for 3 or 4 months, but I don't know how much all these things cost. I'm sure they vary with different places you go to, but it costs money, and I don't think it's money that like insurance. Does insurance cover this kind of stuff?
No, the only time insurance will cover it is if you're getting something for like migraines or TMJ and you can get it reimbursed, but otherwise it's self-pay.
Okay, so my point being is like, you better have some money if you want to do this, because it's cost, the cost of being pretty, as I said, earlier. And I mean, not that, somebody wouldn't be pretty without it, but enhancement. And then you're years into it, and then somehow or another, the money just rolls out, and then you just start going back. I mean, to me, it's like psychologically, you know what I mean? Because you're telling me already, you got people that's like more and more and more. You got junkies.
Hey, you know what? People buy a Starbucks every day, and if they can buy a Starbucks every day, they can afford Botox every 3 months.
Yeah, that's a whole nother addiction too. It's crazy. I was talking to my daughter about that yesterday. So I mean, anyway, okay, cool, fair enough. Because I know, I truly understand that people spend money where they want to spend it. There's no doubt about it. I would definitely
find it.
Yeah, I would think, especially for something as vain as that, so to speak, that they would give up paying a utility bill or something.
Who needs lights?
Yeah, lights are overrated. We got plenty of daytime, It's like, yeah, but true. Okay, so I want to go into this is where it gets a little bit crazy for me. Or like I'm going, I just start cringing watching this a little bit, but yet it seems like no problem. This one is a longer video, and it's called a female neuromodulator. Okay. Let's watch it. It's a little over 2 minutes, but it'll give you a real good, at least everybody, our viewers, a real good look at what's going on. I mean, some really in-depth stuff. So, and then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, girl. There's a reason.
You're right.
There was one girl that worked here, and they were like 2 peas in a pod, and she deserves him. But other than that, I feel bad for everybody.
It does stink a little more. Does it sting more?
Ooh, yeah.
Really? Spicy.
So crazy. I'm more sensitive on this side of my face than
Which is
that.
weird. You're the rare percentage. Most people hurt on the left side more. You're special.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yep. So special. Special ed. No, special.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
And why do you do the Daxi lower?
That was just the pattern that got the best results in the trial. They had a bunch of different injectors, and the consistent injector that did this injection point down low got the best lift out of the glabella.
Wow.
Because I used to do it about right here. And I will still on some people, but they just were getting better results. Gotta go with the science.
Yeah. Makes your eyes well.
Push your eyebrows up and relax. She don't get a lot in her forehead.
Felt that. I was like, what the hell?
Good thing yours is free.
Yeah, right? 25 units down. Just
Push
kidding.
your eyebrows up and relax. I think we do that sometimes. I'm like, Courtney, can you get me another unit? What is that? Just waste it on my cheek. She doesn't really have a lot of medial movement, so I'm just going to put just a tiny bit there.
Dang, that is so much more spicy.
Sorry.
It's okay.
But you know what's weird with that is that not everyone.
That's a lot of spots.
So if you heard her say this is a little bit more spicy or a little bit more sensitive,
Yeah.
she was one of our trial patients for the newest neuromodulator, which is called Daxify. So when we were talking earlier about Botox just for the other products last 3 months, and Daxify, the newest one, lasts up to 6 months. So that's what I was using on her. We just rolled that out about a month ago.
So what you're telling me is you just shot her in the face. I mean, like, I don't know how many places. I mean, everywhere, under the eye, you know, I mean, on the sides of the temples, the foreheads, in between. And she's going to come back in 6 months and do that all over again?
Yep.
Wow. And that didn't hurt.
It really doesn't hurt. You can tell she wasn't really flinching or anything like that. It's a very quick procedure, but that is Botox, essentially. It's just a different brand.
Okay. Again, because I just see, you know, I know it's a really thin, small little needle, but
yeah,
a needle's a needle. I mean, you know, and it's just like, okay, one place, but, you know, so close to the eyes and you know, in between the temples and your eyebrows. I don't know. Okay. So now the thing is, so far, you know, we've talked about women doing all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you get a lot of men too, don't you?
We do. Actually, I treat a pretty good amount of male patients, more so over the last 2 or 3 years. I think that they're seeing it more on social media. And I've tried to do a better job of advertising to male patients as well, because they want to look good just as much as women want to look good. But they also like very quick appointments. They want to be in and out. They don't want to be sitting in the lobby and other people seeing that they're getting procedures done. So you have to offer a little bit more privacy for your male patients, I found. But yeah, they need it just as much as we do.
Because this guy, I'm going to show a guy who did a neuromodulator Botox dye.
Dysport.
Yeah, I can't. The writing went off the screen, and there's so much stuff. But the thing is, this guy doesn't look that old, and I'm thinking to myself, it's like looks like a relatively young guy. It's like, did he really need to start doing that, or is it all up here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's check it out, and then we'll go. This one's a lot shorter of a video, but it's going to show that men are in there too. Okay.
Angry and relax. Go ahead.
The question is, do you have enough of it for me?
You do have really strong muscles. So sometimes, but I'm going to start you with the same dose I do on everybody. But you could potentially look angry for me and relax. You could need more just because you are really strong.
See what I mean? In his mind, do you have enough of that stuff to put in? Because he's thinking he needs a real lot of it. And I'm going, this guy's, it's like, why? But what? I don't know.
Hey, Ryan is a pilot. He's actually a friend of my husband. My husband's a pilot too. And they make a lot of like serious frowning expressions, very concentrated faces.
Yeah.
And so they early in their 30s start to get those 11 lines. And he actually already had those starting. And so he was actually a good candidate for it, surprisingly, even though he's young.
Look, I don't know. I don't know how much frowning I do, but I definitely have accumulated, some things going on in there. But it's like, could be worse. Could be worse.
It's so much easier to prevent those deep lines than to try to treat them when you get older, because if they're there, you really can't make them go completely away. But if you prevent them, then they're never there.
I guess again, I'm learning, but my point being is like, if I fix these lines right here, that ain't gonna fix this. There's not a whole lot you can do with this. You got to have like a good surface to work with before you can. So there's my thing. So I'm going. It's like, well, I don't know. You just kind of learn to live with it. But I just saw he was a younger guy, and I'm going. Please explain this to me, because I know a lot of stuff in people in general are inside their own heads. You know what I mean? I used to see some beautiful women that always thought they were too fat. Just think like, so what's the difference? It's basically the same thing, what you see in the mirror.
Yeah. And we actually do commonly have patients with something called body dysmorphia disorder. It's common in the cosmetic and plastic surgery field. So we definitely do try to screen our patients for that. There's certain ways we can identify patients with that disorder, because treating them with cosmetic procedures can actually make their dysmorphia worse.
Again, back to my main thing. So you have to use your better judgment and not just how much money you can make,
Right.
because you can easily, if you let all those people that keep going, I want to do it again, cha-ching, 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 but you're creating a monster. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that probably just do it because they don't question it and do it. I mean, ethics, I guess.
It is. And it's becoming confident in your own skill set too, because for myself, when I would overfill patients years ago, it wasn't even about the money for me. It was learning how to tell people no, because they can be so difficult to talk off the ledge. And they are like, I've waited to see you for 3 months and you're going to treat me, you're going to do this. And I didn't know how to say no. So really for me, it's more about my confidence.
I get it. And I mean, everybody's learning, but it's just like almost Michael Jackson, when they're going like, you can't say, I remember back in the day, and it's like, you can't say no to Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? It's because he's Michael Jackson. But yet he's no longer with us anymore. You know what I mean? Because somebody didn't say no to him. And that's the thing. It's that responsibility, because, you're dealing with medical stuff. It just fascinates me, because again, I know it can become obsessive, and I know that there's plenty of people that don't have those ethics. They're going, it's like, hey, that's what they want. What do you want me to do? I'm just they want to do it. That's their life, their business. But yet you are learning to say no and be responsible about it. So
I'm at that point now, and unfortunately it comes to the point sometimes when you just have to tell a patient, I'm not the provider for you, and you have to let them go out of your practice. And I've had to do that a few times, and it's in both of our best interests to do that,
and they'll go somewhere else until they find somebody who'll do what they want, right?
They do. We unfortunately have a few providers in our local area that do it as a side gig, and they do it for extra cash, and they don't really treat it as a career. And we see patients from them that are grossly overfilled or asymmetric, and it's unfortunate. But
what kind of are they doctors? I mean, what do you have to be to do it as a side gig, so to speak? You know what I mean? He works at Van Nuys Tires, and then he gets off and then
we don't have that here in the US. In Europe, you could get your hair done and your lips done by the same person. There's no requirements, but here in the US, you do have to at least be an RN. And in Florida, you have to be a nurse practitioner or a PA or above. So, we do have regulations for sure, but just because you're a doctor doesn't mean that you are great at art. And so that's what this is, an art skill set.
Right. And I used to see doctors that would take on, and there's some doctors that would do surgeons, and then they would also start dabbling in plastic surgery and botch up,
Yeah, you don't want a cosmetic surgeon. You want a board certified plastic surgeon.
Yeah, and we won't have time to get into all that tonight.
No.
But yeah, because it's deep, especially living out here, and I find, I have a bunch of plastic surgeons on my Instagrams and things like that I want to have on the show, because again, it's a way of life, and I find it interesting because you can make the wrong decisions and go to the wrong people and then once that kind of stuff is almost, good luck trying to fix something that gets botched.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Okay. Let's go to what is my daughter asked, and you didn't send me anything on this, and she says, what's threading?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of ways to lift tissue. So when patients come in, really anytime after 50, 55, a lot of times we're starting to get some skin laxity, and they've lost volume, but just simply adding volume back isn't the answer. And so they need something to actually lift the tissue. So PDO threads are one of the only modalities that we have before they get to surgery that actually lifts the tissue. So polydioxanone threads, it's just a suture material that we use to suture wounds and things like that. But instead of suturing a wound, we use it to lift the tissue.
And you can't see it?
You can't see it. So initially, whenever we insert the threads, you can actually, if you watch the videos, you can see the blue thread hanging out the back. But once we tighten the threads and we cut the knot is below the tissue and you can't see the thread anymore.
You're kidding.
Yeah, so it lifts the tissue immediately, and then as the thread dissolves, it actually stimulates collagen and elastin in the tissue, and so you get immediate gratification of an instant lift, and then as the threads dissolve, you also get that collagen stimulation that keeps your skin tight for about a year.
Wow. So and where do you do the stitching up? Behind the ears, or?
It just depends on the patient and what they're looking for. A lot of times the incision points are in the hairline so that you can't see the little hole, but it's not a true incision. It's really just a poke point with a needle.
Really?
Yeah, you don't have to have any actual cut.
How do you get the threads in? How many threads do you? I mean, it's not just one loop or something. It's multiple, isn't it?
Yeah, so the threads come on a cannula. So if you've seen my videos where I'm working in the cheek and using a cannula to put the product in, the threads come on a cannula like that. So all you have to do is make one little poke insertion point, and then you insert the cannula, and the cannula slides through the tissue, and then you pull the cannula out and the thread is left behind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is freaky stuff. And you do that stuff too?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. And what's the how many people go for that, and for a year's worth of better?
I probably talk more people out of it than talk them into it, because it is one of our highest risk procedures as far as complications with being able to like see lumps and bumps from the threads, or having an infection or pain after the procedure. It is a great procedure, but there's a very, very select few patients that are good candidates for it. So I would say a couple a week, but not a significant amount.
Well, good to know. I mean, because I think there's complications in my mind, could be with anything, but you would know after doing this for so long, the expectancy, what to expect out of it, and again, telling them this may be good, this may not be good. Because, a lot of people just see something on TV and they go, sign me up, and that's kind of dangerous. I mean, especially, with your face.
Yeah. I try to really set very realistic expectations and, tell them I work with a fantastic surgeon. So a lot of times if my patients qualify for surgery, I give them both options, because oftentimes non-surgical procedures are more costly than just getting the surgery. Of course, there's more risk and incisions and scars with surgery, but it's actually less expensive in the long run to have that done.
And better.
Better results. Yeah, because if you think about threads and you have someone with jowls or skin laxity, the skin has to go somewhere because we're not removing the skin. So what you can see if you do threads in the wrong candidate is bunching of skin back in their jawline. And what they really needed was surgery to remove the skin.
Gotcha. Because again, I know, there's people that will fly to different parts of the country to go to a certain doctor or this and that, and over here, I mean, we have our Beverly Hills and all that. I mean, to say that it's that much better, that's questionable. You have to know the doctor basically and see the,
Right.
Because I mean, I'm sure you have fine doctors over there, but how do you tell somebody it's like he can do just as good and you're going to get the same results?
Right. Yeah, I'm really lucky. I do work for the best plastic surgeon in our area, Dr. Butler, and I've worked with him for 9 years. And I am lucky that I have the confidence to tell any of my patients I've had surgery by Dr. Butler. He actually did a brow lift on me in December. I'm very confident in his ability. So that makes my job easier when I go to, tell my patients to have surgery with him.
I remember back in the day, like the secretary out front would be the poster child for the surgeon.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's me. I'm that poster child. I've had it all.
Are you real? You're so young. It's like, what would yeah, but that's what they would do. They'd have this really good looking girl out front. And it's like, here's my work, from the top all the way down.
Yeah. Dr. Butler likes to tell his patients I'm 55. So, look what a great job I did. She's 55.
If he really wants to do it, he'd say you're 75. Really go for it. All right, let's talk about something called is it radius? Radius.
Mm-hmm.
Radius. Okay, because it's got too many S's and E's and stuff on there. Let's look at this video and then you'll tell me about it. Okay.
Okay. Here, poke. Okay, sit up for me.
What's the difference in that?
So the standard fillers that we use, like Juvederm and Restylane, those are hyaluronic acid, so the sugar-based fillers, whereas Radius is calcium-based. So the calcium-based products are non-dissolvable, so you want a very skilled provider to do those procedures for you. But the benefit of Radius is that not only does it add volume, but it also stimulates collagen 1, collagen 3, and elastin. So you're getting volume, but you're also getting skin tightening at the same time.
How do you determine what you should be using and for where? Is it a matter of just price or logistics?
It depends on the patient. So generally, if I'm using a non-dissolvable product, it's going to be on a patient that's known to me. I'm not typically going to use it on a first-time patient. And they've probably had filler in that area before to ensure that they like the result. So say they've had HA filler in their jawline and they like the way that it looks. The next time we go to do it, we'll use Radius and they get the benefit of the volume and the collagen stimulation.
So you're saying, is that like a permanent thing?
It's not permanent, but it does last about 2 years.
Okay. Again, I'm trying to decipher the levels of what you're paying versus what you get for how long, and before you start, telling yourself, oh, I got to go back and see Brittany because I'm I'm just falling, everything's falling. Wow.
I love Radius. I use it a lot. I use it in patients generally that need some skin tightening and some contouring. So that in this patient's case, she wanted the jawline contouring and also a little bit of lift.
Look, I mean, again, who doesn't want to look better? You know what I mean? But my biggest fear, and I do mean my biggest fear, is I'd go to do something like that, and then you come back and you go out, you're out, a 3 weeks, a month later, and people go, hey, what's going on? And all of a sudden they turn around, they go, what happened to him? You know what I mean? Because I wanted to do something, and I just, and that's now again, your discretion, you understand subtle and different. But you get these people that go to certain people that won't have that kind of thought process, and they go, yeah, I want to get rid of this, I want to get rid of this, and I want to get rid of this, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't like when people get their eyes done and they just really look like they got their eyes done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so my best advice to patients, whether it's getting injections or having surgery, is never go to the person that you can get in with the quickest or that's the cheapest, because you're probably not in the best hands. So we have a lot of patients that get upset because we're booked out for a couple of months or our prices are slightly higher than other providers, but there's a reason for that. We have the education to back it up, the skill set. So you definitely want to choose wisely.
Good to know. I mean, so that's the thing. What is it? Let's say I wanted to come in and schedule a Radius, and or just something, a consultation. What's the time frame with you guys?
So I'm booked into mid-July.
Jesus. Better think ahead, huh?
And I do tell my patients, if they're seeing me, they're rebooking before they leave. And a lot of them book 2 to 3 appointments at a time so that they don't have to wait. But a new patient, is July.
I mean, I guess, that kind of makes sense. You can always cancel. I'm sure you can fill, and you can always fill those spots in for those people who are. Yeah. But, the last thing I need is when somebody's looking, they go, what the hell happened to him? Because I get that enough just doing this show. I mean, just, people going, what the hell happened to Peter? And, because either they agree or disagree with what I do. But, the last thing I want to do is, like I said, I have enough problems right here, and then I want to go and make it to where it's a noticeable. It's one thing to be looking better, looking brighter. I like that, but I know God knows, I know you have seen it, but it doesn't take a genius to walk down the street and go, somebody's a little bit getting crazy with the Botox, or that was the only word you had for that back,
Well, you can come to Pensacola and get it done by the best.
Yes.
And you can do an episode on your before and after.
Talk about that later. But let's go in, because I got a few more videos and I really want to show them, and we're running out of time as I knew we were gonna. But this is good stuff. So what is a PRF gel biofiller? I'm gonna play the video and then you tell me, okay? Now it's a silent video. I don't know what happened to but. Now, again, to me, that looks just like what you're doing with all the other ones. Or what's the difference there?
So PRF is actually my favorite procedure. It is plasma. So we draw the patient's blood and we spin it in the centrifuge, and we separate the plasma and the white blood cells, and we re-inject them into the tissue. And the reason we do that is, just like many of the other modalities, we're trying to improve the skin quality. So your blood has a lot of healing properties in it, but you have red blood cells that have bad inflammation. So you want to separate the red blood cells from the white blood cells, and we re-inject the good stuff, essentially. And it's all natural because there's no additives at all. It's purely your blood that we're re-injecting.
Okay, but now you're talking my language. I mean, it sounds like it's healthier or something. But I mean, so what's the success rate, and how long does that last?
So it depends on the person and their blood quality, because one thing you do have to take into consideration is the patient's health, because if the patient isn't healthy, their blood quality and the results isn't going to be very good. So someone that doesn't take good care of themselves, like they don't eat well, or someone that's a smoker, they won't have the same results as someone that's an athlete, gets their protein in, takes their vitamins. So that is one of the biggest downsides to it, is that it is patient dependent. Whereas the other modalities that we use, we know what the product is, we know how it's going to work. But with PRF, it depends on the patient.
And what are you expecting in results for doing that? I mean, what would be the difference between the fillers? Would it act like create just like the same results, or is it something different?
It does create a similar result. So the PRF gel, you are taking the albumin from your blood and it acts as a filler. So the nice thing about that is you get the volume like a filler, but you also get the skin regenerative properties from the plasma as well. So it's a dual purpose modality.
See, there's a lot of choices. It seems to me like there's a lot of choices. How does one, especially people who don't know anything, but they know they want to look better, how do you go about figuring, like, you should go with this more so, the PRF more so than the neuromodulator, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just based on their primary complaint. So if someone comes in and they say, hey, my forehead lines are bothering me, well, they would be a neuromodulator patient. Whereas if a patient comes in and they say, hey, I hate these dark circles under my eyes, then we give them options. If you have hollowness, you could do filler, which will give you immediate results, or you could do PRF, which takes 3 to 4 sessions over a 3 to 4 month period of time, but your end result will be better than filler alone. So it's just really giving them the option based on their concern and on their medical history.
Okay, because to me, it's like you don't know what you don't know. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping, like, you, the professional, to give me those, because options are good. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Definitely good, because if you just went with something that's we can do this, and
Yeah.
it's nice to have options. All right, let's do this. This is, I don't really understand this, but it's called and we'll just watch the video and then you tell me. But it's real quick video. It's only a few seconds, but it's vampire facial micro needling. Okay.
Embarrassment. Oh my gosh. I really do get uncomfortable. Like sometimes I really can't watch videos of things. No. I really do.
Now, okay. What the hell's going on there?
So this is actually a component of the PRF facial. So we inject it first to add volume and stimulate the deeper layers of tissue. And then after that part, we microneedle it into the skin. So essentially what you're doing is you're causing micro injuries into the tissue, which causes your body to send healing mechanisms to the surface. And so again, stimulating collagen.
Okay. So, but I mean, you're up on the top of the forehead, and I thought you said that you really don't do it up there. Is that, but you do?
You do, for skin quality improvement. So not just for lines, but just for a pore size, texture of the skin, just overall skin quality.
Can you change the size of pores? Like, I have big pores on my face. I mean, I've always have,
The pore size that you have is just what you're going to have forever. But there are things you can do, like microneedling and lasers, that help reduce them a little bit. You can actually even intradermally inject Botox into the pores, and it makes them shrink temporarily.
I mean, because literally when they said that they faked the moon landing and all that, they literally filmed it on my face right about here,
But that pore size is basically you have what you're born with.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I've just been told, I'm doing makeups and things like that. It's like, wow, you got, really large pores. Yeah, it is what it is. So I didn't know if you can manipulate that or not, but so far it's held together. So I just kind of sticking with it. All right, this is the last one, and I'm telling you, this is a guy, but this one freaks me out the most. I mean, and you have you have a million videos out there on your Instagrams and stuff like that. We're gonna talk about that in a minute, because I gotta keep moving. But this one freaks me out the most, and it's called Sculptra. Yeah. Hold on to your hats, folks. Hey. that needle be any bigger?
It's a cannula. It's not even sharp.
Not even sharp. How the
Nope.
hell are you sticking that in that guy's face and it's not like puncturing through? And what are you doing? I'm just asking.
So Sculptura is actually very similar to Radiesse. It is polylactic acid, which is also a biostimulator. So the Sculptura is little microparticles of polylactic acid, and you mix it with water and you inject the fluid to stimulate collagen and elastin. So we use Radiesse and Sculptura in the same type of patient for the similar reasons. They're just two different companies, like Botox and Dysport. But this patient had some volume loss in his face, and so we're using Sculptura to tighten his skin and replace volume.
And how do you know when you're doing that you're staying in between you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a feel. So you think of it like, if you're injecting in the tissue, you think of it as being under a sheet versus being under a mattress. So when you're under the sheet and you can lift the cannula up, you know you're in the superficial, subcutaneous, or subdermal. Whereas if you're lifting the cannula up and it's heavy, like you're under the mattress, you know you're under the muscle. So you're basing your injection plane on how it feels.
Do things abscess if you miss, so to speak?
No, you can get in the wrong plane and cause problems with, like, say, a vascular occlusion if you're in an artery, or if you go too deep and you get into the buccal area and you go through the mouth. I have never had that happen to me, but I've heard of it happening. But that's hard to do. You would have to be putting too much pressure on the cannula.
Okay, and what's the results on something like that? Because that just seems like really invasive. I mean, how the hell is that not hurting him?
It's really comfortable. If you're in the right plane of tissue, it doesn't hurt. So Sculptura does take about 4 to 6 months to see a result because your body has to build the collagen. And so he'll come back one more time in 8 weeks and have a second session, and then he'll be good for about 2 years.
And what was he trying to? What do you try to achieve with that? Just a whole fuller face, or?
Yep.
I mean,
he had some kind of sagging of his nasolabial fold from volume loss in his cheek, and so we did put some product in his nasolabial fold, and then most of it through this area in his cheek where he had lost weight.
Wow. Well, I'm glad somebody knows what the hell they're doing, because it's like, yeah, come on over. I think I can do that. It's like, this isn't one of those Tupperware type parties, just come on over. We're having, right? But I've seen
parties.
But that exists, correct?
It does.
Some doctor comes over and, come on over, girls. We're gonna get drunk and let's get drunk and fill them up.
And then we see him in our office a couple weeks later to fix it.
Yeah, because the doctor had a few drinks. And like, hey. Wow. Well, look, this has been truly interesting and informative for me. But I want to tell people real quick. I mean, if they want to see more of your work, they can. You do a lot of. You love that Instagram thing, right? You got everything on there. So if you want to find what Brittany does, you can go over to her Instagram page at @BrittPerez_plastic What's that for? Nurse practitioner?
Yeah.
Okay. And they can find you there. Is that correct?
That's right. That's my biggest platform, where you can find me the most. I've tried to do LinkedIn and TikTok and all those other things, but there's only so much time in a day.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. But yeah, there is. But you have, there's tons of videos on there. I mean, again, where to start, where to stop, but it's pretty informative, and you really can see. And I see on your earlier ones, a lot of the before and after pictures, as opposed to showing now. You show the procedures going down.
Yeah.
And I got squirmish. I mean, I'm telling you, some of that stuff is just like, maybe it's different if I'm in the seat and it's happening, but to be watching it happen, just like I don't like people watching people's bones get broken, and on those crazy videos, like they skateboarded or something and then their arm snaps. It's like, I'm not into it. I'm just not into it. So, but there you are, just taking that stuff, and that's no big deal. Listen, I want to thank you for your time. I think I know I got a lot out of it, and I'm sure a lot of people will as the show progresses and goes down into infamous history. But you are practicing. You are in the Gulf Coast, hence the Gulf Coast Plastic Surgery title.
Yep.
In Pensacola, Florida, correct?
I am.
All right. So, I mean, if anybody wants to get stuff done right, you're the one to go see.
See me, yes.
But book in advance.
Just a few months.
All right. Is there anything you want to leave anybody with, like a word of wisdom or anything like that? Anything? I know I didn't ask you this earlier, but I would figure maybe so.
Yeah, I mean, just like I was saying before, just take your time to find the right provider. Don't rush into it because it is a medical procedure. And I think sometimes people think of Botox as just some, quick, easy cosmetic thing. And it is those things, but it also can have complications. So just choose wisely and take your time.
Fair enough. I don't think you could put it any better than that, because it makes total sense. I mean, you're messing with, things that your face, for one, and you guys do everything. I mean, at that facility, I mean, it's stomachs, butts.
We do it all.
Do it all. All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. All right, listen, I want to thank you again for taking the time to. I know you got family life and work life, and you're nonstop, but you took the time to do this, and I appreciate it, because I think you're literally giving the gift that keeps on giving. Information is power, and it's great for everybody. So I thank you for doing it.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. Ladies and gentlemen, one last look at Ms. Brittany Perez right here from Gulf Coast Plastic Surgery, and all her tips and techniques. If you want to follow her, she's on Instagram at brittperez_plasticnp, and she's got tons of stuff right there, and you can contact her through there too. I'm sure she'll find your message, and you can take it from there. But wave goodbye to everybody, and again, we'll talk in the future. But thank you so much. You can rest now. All right, there you have it, folks. All right, thank you. I love you for doing it.
Good night.
Bye-bye. There you go. Let's take a little sip here. Smooth. Pretty good, huh? She knows her stuff. She's into it. I'm telling you, she's constantly traveling all over the world, getting more educated. In fact, that's why it took us so long to get her on the show. She was overseas, and she was, in Vegas, and going to all these shows, and these seminars and all that kind of stuff. Because if you want to be good at what you do, you have to put the time in to be good at what you do. And she's good at what she does. So I'm very proud and thankful that she came on the show. So once again, last time, if you want to get a hold of Brittany, go to her page on Instagram, brittperez_plasticnp, and you can find her there. Tell her you saw her on the Peter G Show. This show will live on in infamy, and again, you might be making the right choice by watching the show, because you were interested in doing something, and she may be the one to help you understand where you need to go with it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I want to thank everybody for watching the Peter G Show. I want to remind you, next week, don't forget, folks, next week, April 19th, Wednesday, comedian Rodney Normand is going to be on this show. That's right. That guy. Again, I thought he was just some crazy guy on TikTok, with this philosophical view on life that would post things, but I found out he's actually a comedian, and I thought he was real. I mean, he is real. He might be that guy, but he puts it into he's pretty entertaining, and I mean, it's he talks about life, and that's what I do. We talk about life here, and I do life. I love life, and I think he's going to be running for president coming up too, so that will be a kicker. We'll ask him though when he comes on the show next Wednesday, April 19th. Comedian Rodney Normand right here on this show. Mark it down, as I tell you every week. You don't want to miss it. And that's it for that. Again, the last reminder, please go over to the YouTube channel, The Peter G Show, and just hit the subscribe button, so that way I can get over a certain number, so they'll start slacking off and letting me build that channel again, since they wiped me out. I deeply appreciate it. Doesn't take but a second. Even if you're on Facebooks and all that, just ring that bell, subscribe. It's free. It will help me out, and plus it notifies you when the show starts, and you choose to watch if you can or not. And if you're too busy, because life is busy, and I totally understand, take the show on the road with you. Listen to the Peter G Show via podcast in the car while you're at work. Just Google Peter G Show podcast. Pick one of the platforms. There's like 25 of them right now. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. There's a bunch of them. Put an earbud in your ear or listen to it in the speakers of your car or while you're jogging, whatever you want to do. Just over 300 shows, almost 300 shows now. Even though we just celebrated, this is show number 203 of the live, but you got tons of choices, subject titles, subject matter, from narcissism to your kids to health and fitness and wellness and beauty. It's life, and that's what I do because I like it. So please, that's it. And lastly, I want to thank you as always for making the choice to spend a little time with us right here on Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show. For those of you who take the time, just please share, help the show grow, because I'm on a mission, folks. I am. I will not stop until we get to where I feel comfortable, to where we can be on streaming in everybody's living rooms. What else the hell am I going to do? I love what I do. I want to thank Clean Start Products, the DX1 driver, their fuel additive right here, for knowing what I do and still sponsoring me. So how can you not love that? My name is Peter G. You're watching Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show. And I want to thank you again for watching, taking the time out of your life. Life is full of choices. So last thing and lastly, be kind. Life is a bitch. It's tough out there. And it's getting tougher. We're in some funky times right now. Keep your ears open. Please be willing to keep an open mind, because we're so divided. Just please all just try to stick together regardless of different ideas and ideologies. Just keep an open mind. Let's all just keep together. Life is too damn short, okay? You don't have to take a bunch of shit from people, but you don't have to be an ass either. I'll see you guys next week. Again, comedian Rodney Norman's going to be on the show. It should be interesting. As always, I love you guys, and peace out.
Peter G Show.